You wake to the grind of metal on stone. Dawn's faint light seeps through a narrow window, illuminating your father as he sharpens his dagger with slow, deliberate strokes. In the corner, your mother hunches, her fingers racing over rosary beads, murmuring prayers too soft to decipher. The air is heavy with smoke and dread, thick with unspoken truths. Today is your wedding day. You are 12. The silk dress your mother stitched hangs on a peg like a funeral shroud. Its deep indigo, bought with 3 months of your family's grain, marks everything you will lose. Your childhood, your name, your body, your choice. In hours, you'll be led to an altar, not as a bride, but as a transaction, a living contract sealed in flesh, binding families in a deal rooted not in love, but in survival. This is no fairy tale marriage or modern romance. This is marriage as it was for most of history. A brutal exchange where women were currency, children were pawns, and death often the only escape from a union born in violence and buried in despair. Before we unearth these forgotten tales of endurance and pain, if you're drawn to history's hidden truths, please hit the like button and subscribe for more stories like this. Drop a comment below to share where you're listening from. I'm amazed we're connected across the globe, exploring these ancient lives together, united by our curiosity about the past. The marriage contract lies on the wooden table like a death sentence, its Latin script flickering in candlelight. Sir Geoffrey de Montfort, 43, widower, lord of 3 manors and 200 serfs, seeks a bride. Available, Lady Matilda, 11, daughter of Sir William de Clare, dowry of 50 marks silver, bloodline tied to King Edward. The negotiations took 3 days, not for complexity, but because your father wrung every advantage from your sale. You are his prized asset, young enough to shape, fertile enough for heirs, noble enough to lift his status. That you've never met your betrothed is irrelevant. That you still play with wooden dolls is inconvenient, but not a barrier. Medieval marriage was nothing like today's. It was no union of equals, but a legal and economic pact between families, often sealed when the bride was still and swaddling. The Catholic Church, which later framed marriage as sacred, then saw it as a necessary evil, a bulwark against fornication's greater sin. Noble girls wed between 12 and 14. Peasant girls, slightly older at 16 to 18, not from respect for youth, but because their labor was needed longer and dowries were costlier. Across classes, marriage was imposed on women, not chosen. Your mother's trembling hands fastened the wooden buttons of your dress, each carved with your family's crest, a swan pierced by an arrow, grimly fitting. Married at 13 to a stranger, she bore your father 9 children. 5 survived. She speaks not of love, but of duty, obedience, and navigating a husband's whims. Be like water, she whispers, her breath warm against your ear. Take the shape of your container. Resistance only brings pain. The wedding is a public ritual, not of joy, but of transaction. Unlike modern ceremonies, medieval weddings were barely religious. A priest's blessing at the church door sufficed before the real business, community witness. You're paraded through the village like a sacrificial offering. The crowd gathered not to celebrate, but to affirm the transfer. In a world without records, their memory binds the contract. They'll testify to this day if your union or your children's inheritance is ever questioned. Father Benedict stands at the church door, his face impassive. He's overseen countless such rites, watching girls led to altars like lambs to slaughter. His Latin words cascade over you, meaningless, sealing your fate. Wilt thou take this man till death do you part? No one asks your consent. Children have none. Your father speaks for you, as he has for every choice in your life. You're whispered, I will is lost in the wind. Sir Geoffrey steps forward to claim you. He's a stranger, but not to your fears. Whispers tell of his first wife, dead at 15 in childbirth, her arms bruised, her spirit broken. His gaze assesses you like livestock, your health, your fertility, your endurance. The iron ring he places on your finger, heavy and cold, is no mere symbol. Iron is unyielding, eternal, like the marriage it binds. Gold is too soft for such a bond. The feast that follows is a grotesque mockery of celebration. The manor's great hall, draped in winter greenery and lit by smoky torches, groans with roasted meat and ale. Guests, all adults, all complicit, toast to fertility, to bloodlines, to the union's prosperity. You sit beside your husband, your feet dangling from the high chair. His questions about your learning, your health, your cycles are clinical, your answers monosyllabic, fear choking your voice. Your untouched plate congeals as your stomach knots. As night falls, a minstrel sings of courtly love, knights and ladies, passion and devotion. The irony stings. These tales, fantasies of forbidden love, have no place in your reality. Courtly love was extramarital, a fleeting escape from marriage's cold transactions. The church condemned it, yet it thrived, revealing a truth. Marriage lacked the space for love, which existed only in secret, outside its bounds. The guests grow louder, drunker, their jests turning crude, talk of bedding, of breaking in young wives, of swift consummation. Your mother, pale but resolute, takes your arm. It's time, she says. The bedding ceremony is medieval marriage's darkest ritual, a public violation dressed as celebration. The wedding party escorts you to the chamber, joking, advising, ensuring the act is done. Your virginity is not assumed, but verified. Your bloody sheet's a trophy of your husband's possession. The chamber is cold, lit by a lone candle casting shadows on stone walls. The bed, a stark wooden frame with rough linen, feels like an executioner's block. The women undress you with mechanical efficiency, your shift offering no shield from cold or eyes. Sir Geoffrey enters, half-dressed, drunk but alert, intent on claiming his purchase. The priest blesses the bed, sprinkling holy water, praying for heirs. The crowd presses close, offering crude encouragement. This isn't cruelty to them, it's necessity, ensuring the marriage is binding, undeniable. Finally, they leave, but not before the women's final counsel. Submit fully, stay silent, focus on duty. Your mother kisses your forehead, her tears falling like rain. The door shuts like a tomb. You're alone with your husband, this stranger who owns you more completely than his land or horses. The law grants you no protection. The church decrees your body is his. What happens is not love, but conquest. Marital rape didn't exist. Rape was a crime against property, and you are his. In the faint light of dawn, the manor stood silent, its walls cold and impenetrable. Lady Eleanor, once lively and full of dreams, lay awake in the grand master bedroom, her eyes tracing the patterned ceiling in a daze of exhaustion and resignation. The night had been long and merciless, yet dawn brought no solace, only the sight of crimson stains on white sheets, proof of Sir Geoffrey's unyielding success, displayed where all could see. Her body ached from the violation, each movement a painful reminder of the ordeal she was expected to endure as part and parcel of married life. Sir Geoffrey, already dressed and fresh, loomed at the foot of the bed, his voice devoid of warmth as he listed her duties for the day: manage the household, bear heirs, and obey without question. To leave the estate required permission. speaking to men without an overseer was forbidden. Her life was bounded by the stone walls and the stringent laws of the time. The manor, a fortress with no internal locks, was her new home. The legal and customary bonds that held her were stronger than iron chains. The household staff, though kind, watched her with pity. They'd seen many wives fade before. Lady Eleanor's days settled into a monotonous rhythm of submission. Dawn prayers, endless household tasks, needlework, and nights spent in Sir Geoffrey's bed. There was no privacy, not even in prayer. Every muttered word, every whispered hope for escape was reported back to him. Her first pregnancy arrived swiftly. Barely 14, childbirth nearly claimed her life. Medieval medicine offered little more than charms and prayers, incantations over jasper stones, and the persistence of St. Margaret's name. Labor stretched on, a day and a night. Nothing the midwife, Agnes, concocted from bitter herbs, could ease the agony that tore her apart with each contraction. When at last the child arrived, a squalling girl named Eleanor, the disappointment in the room was palpable. Daughters were valued, yes, but sons were what Sir Geoffrey sought. The recovery was agonizing. Fever racked her frail, undeveloped body, already shattered by premature motherhood. Yet, rest was a luxury she could not afford. Within months, Sir Geoffrey's demands returned, unbidden and relentless. By the age of 18, she had given birth to 4 children, though 2 were lost to the grim specter of mortality that followed every medieval family. Her reflection haunted her, showing not her own youthful visage, but that of her mother, eyes hollow, posture defeated. Isolation was her constant companion. No friends visited, no letters came, save those from the few estate businesswomen took on her behalf, although even these were dictated by Sir Geoffrey's command. Her children offered only brief reprieves from her loneliness. They would eventually belong to him and leave to foster at a young age. Abuse marked her existence, familiar not just in its physical manifestations, at times subtle and emotional. Any conduct that displeased Sir Geoffrey resulted in punishment. Meals perceived as late, the news of slow conceptions, excessive affection for her daughters. At 25, she was an old woman by the standards of the time, her hair streaked with gray, and missing teeth speaking of a life spent in hardship and suffering made inevitable through repeated childbirth. 9 children had passed through her, of which 5 lived. The church declared all suffering God's will, an act of penance for Eve's original sin. For their daughters, especially, she felt a despair that was different from her own. Eleanor, now 11, prepared to walk a similar path, while marriage negotiations commenced. Any hope of shielding her was a mere fantasy. When Sir Geoffrey died at 32 from a hunting accident, his untimely death did not bring freedom, only added vulnerability. His estate passed to his heirs, and now Lady Eleanor found herself a guest in what had once been her home, at the mercy of familial conduct. Soon enough, suitors circled, each regarding her and her token children as a commodity to be acquired. Her second husband, Sir Richard Deere, brought her no relief. He was a man who took pleasure in cruelty, lowering the already paltry bar of deliverance she clung to.